Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. I'm your host, Sir Topham Hatt the third. I'm going to be talking about my typical day as a fat controller during the day, rather than just every day. Well, nearly every day is different, and every day choices I make a difference to my life in general and everything around me. Sometimes it's a repeating loop because it's all natural work I do. Everybody thinks I'm doing live streams on a regular basis. Just feels like, yeah, I'm gonna have to keep everybody up to date, keep up to scratch, everything else under the sun. But a lot of people say that the Fan Controller third gen, which is me, Sir Topham Hatt, Stephen Topham Hatt the third, has a different life to lead because the timeline that we all admire so much is Wild Northwestern's Sodor the early years, season 4 and 5. Obviously, normally I would not normally mention my private contact name, but as it's an emergency, we trying to tell you there's a 90-year service to protect here. A lot of people say, who's this 90-year service belong to? Sir Topham Hatt Senior. Now, a lot of you may want to know why he was born in 1845 on the 1st of May to June 1935. 90 years service. But the thing is, the pattern is a time loop. We have to deal with problems and fix the timeline and do everything that needs to be done on a regular basis. So I have my cup of tea in the morning, wake up, have my medication, and then I stir up, brush my teeth, have a shave, and then have a shower on top of that, my I add, and then I just broadcast what I need to broadcast on a daily day basis. As a fact controller, I know everything that's going on in nearly some of the stations at stations up the road from me because I know what they're up to and how dangerous they are, or to a point anyway. And as a fact controller, I have to monitor that station regardless. And I really chose my descendant that will take over from me, and it's gonna go the way it's planned out. Emily Helen Hatt will be my next descendant to take over from me. Also that my son Richard Topham Hatt will be the next one in line as well. And the next thing that everybody's asking, what do you do when you're in your own flat? Well, I'm on my computer most of the time, playing my games, talking to my friends online, private contacts, if you will, and so forth and so forth. Sometimes I do get out and about, yes, but as a hat, I have to dress what you see in front of you. With a yellow waist jacket, black tie on, white shirt, black hat, obviously being the key element. And a lot of people say that really suits you, and a lot of people say you should change your clothes a bit. I said, no, I can't, because I've got to stand up for a 90-year service, which needs safeguarding and protecting and needs continuation of it. Now, imagine if I don't get married, or I don't have my son, Richard Topham Hatt, or my granddaughter in play. Then we're going to suffer more dangerous problems in the future. And I'm trying to enlighten that there's a lot of people out there that might think, yes, a typical day is a fat controller on a day everyday basis because that's who I am, Stephen Topham Hatt the third. And and a lot of people say it's real. I'm real McCoy, blood. And a lot of videos that I do on a regular basis have to be told in directional approach that people can understand me to a very high degree. I speak Sudric, yes, I speak Scottish, Irish, English, and Welsh all at once, the full cards, if they say correctly. I know things before they happen. and I also have to make sure the timeline plays correctly to get Wild and Arrested's timeline in play. I know a lot of you probably disagree and say you shouldn't mention people's names or code names, etc. But he's a one of a kind individual. He's a private contact, yes, but I'm not going to tell you exactly where he lives. But the thing is, the whole problem is the whole franchise is real, which is what it is now. And was speaking to my mother about this morning, and I stated it to her, and I said, we need to get something moving. We need to get this blood pumping and get you moving up the ladder, as they say. You can't keep going down the ladder because it won't work in any aspect. And cinders and ashes, it could go the other way. If it goes the other way, we're all doomed. It doesn't matter which way you look at it. It's you can't change what's ahead of you. However, the thing is, I'm recorrecting the timeline for obvious reasons and safeguard positions. Um, a lot of this is like my typical day at the moment is like saying, yeah, well, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I'm singing karaoke songs at the Albion at the office in that fifth floor slash Chroma, and that's that. Ding, 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 ding. Why? Because I am waiting for someone. I sit down a lot for long periods of time, and a lot of people don't realise why are you doing this. I said there's a lot of reasons. There is a reason for it, but not everything can be told online directly. You see, the original time or the timeline that's been played out right now is all in a muddle. Ding, 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 muddle, muddle. Why is it in a muddle? And a lot of people ask me that question. Why is it in a muddle? This is my own content, don't get me wrong. This is my own private content to extent, yes. A lot of it is, mostly it is. And a lot of it is all true, yes. The Hats, the Mansons are one family, may I add. And the problem is, as a fact controller, I have to monitor everything. And because it's become to my duty and my agreement to actually say, look, this is what needs to be set in stone, which it has been, and it has been written by facts. And regardless that a lot of people say, why, why is it happening? Why is it unfolding the way it is? Well, it's like going back in time a little bit because have you seen a lot of things unfold lately, which you haven't watched or lately, or you probably picked up on things that do pick up a picture now these days, and a lot of people say, a lot of people, from what I've been reading, from my prying eyes, I'm not in an impressed mood with people saying that's why there's a steam team and a diesel team. I represent the steam team for obvious reasons, and and the diesel team is at the Norfolk Railway 4 slash Rollsworth station in Sheringham, which is in Rollsworth. And because I look at the different direction, you see, what you call reverse psychology. And a lot of people don't think, oh, sugar, he's right. And a lot of problems that I see that you don't see on a regular basis. I said, yeah, well, it's all true in black and white. Um, that where it's unfolding quite well. We got 70 pages done of my book with a bit of with my private contact doing that from the UK because I've got tons of private contacts in the UK, and quite honestly, they're helping me left, right, and centre, and it's unfolding correctly. And a lot of people say, "What's next on the line?" Well, try try imagine this, right? But this is not imaginary. This is realistic. Now imagine me not fully in control, but the fact is I am fully in control. But there is someone who's trying to. His name it goes by Norman Spencer, which a lot of people should know about these days. Norman Spencer is a real life individual right now, and he's probably on top form of everything and thinking, yeah, right. Even my mother, myself, Dr. Hatt, and myself, and Duck, we all watched this video called Thomas's The Wonderful Life, added on YouTube, may I add. And I watched it and I watched it and I said, I agree. I don't agree with it. Don't get me wrong. This is what makes me say, look, I've got to fill in the gap for that, fill in the gap for my own timeline, fill in my Lady Hat gap, which is where it needs to play in, and then bang. And that's it. Once the Lady Hat's in play, which everybody's asking a question on, where is Lady Hat? I said, I can't give you the answer to that because she could come at any time, at any place. But because I'm in one place, as you know, um, I'm quite famous for my time. Now imagine if my family never existed, and then you're gonna end up with a very, very dangerous problem that I would not be able to help you with. Now that problem is where Norman Spencer comes in and he says, let's get rid of the steam team and throw them out and then just get the diesels back on the line and the steam team is basically out of the woods and then they basically let's put this in the layman's terms so you can see it from fiction and reality. Now the fictional side of it says that the steam engines and all of that are all on in the fields, not on the rails or nothing like that. And diesels are running the rails and bloody hell, excuse my French. The steam team is basically rotting away, rusting away, and then bang, and then you've got all these diesels running the island, just so that the country. If you get my point, that's what they're trying to say because it's not a joke. When I do a typical day as a fat controller, and I mean a typical day, I mean it. I'm not bullshitting by the bush. Um, I said, look, there is going to be a day where I will rise to continue the legacy of my family. Because there's 90 years of service to protect and serve. Because if you add, by the time my granddaughter comes into the fold, it'll be 360 years of service. Now beat that on the clock. 360 years. Why? Because I had a little piece of puzzle from my ancestors stating they started in 1936. Now add 360 years to it. Ding ding. Which is true. There's 360 years of service to get back on the line. And it's not a laughing matter, don't get me wrong. It's not. As a typical day as a fat controller, I've got to make sure that 360 years go by with me, my son, and my granddaughter, and bang, the 90 years of service back in play. Then, if you're very clever enough, if I put it perspectively, I said, look, it's all true, it's just people need to understand how the fat controller's days work, how it works. We don't, in real life, of the Thomas and Friends franchise. We started it in 1845. Now, we've done this so many times, it's unbelievable. And then, in the 30s, this is where the little catch is, 1934, 1935, 1936, ting ting. The 6 is like a reboot button for all of us. And that's why the number 6 is like a reboot button. And with 360 years of service. If I could get my son and my granddaughter in play, bang, then I can rest easy. And then everybody will be happy, everybody will continue. Richard Topham Hatt will take over from me, who's my son, and then my granddaughter will follow suit. But to do that, I have to do a certain protocols in line of fixing my timeline. And that's the reason why my father, my grandfather, and myself and my mother's timeline, we all linked by one reason. People know the truth, but they're too afraid to admit it, to say, look, I may do this as a typical day, everyday routine, but some of the time I do get days off. So I'm entitled to a day off, that 2 days off or 3 days off at least, depending on how much work I gotta do. But the realistic point of view is it's logically looking at it and say, look, oh shit, excuse my language, but that's what half the people will say. You know, they will say it in front of the screen, but they won't say it on camera. But that's a fact. And they will say, yeah, well, 360 years of service in two more generations to come. Basically, you got my son who takes over from me to able to get the granddaughter in play, and my granddaughter is the last one on the list. Fourth generation. Then the fifth generation come following from her end. So work it out. You got Richard Topham Hatt who's stuck in the middle. Then you have my granddaughter who's the fourth generation, and then she will have her son or daughter in between. And then the final one with number 5 on the list, ding, 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 will be the last one on the list. But to get it right, you need to understand the Hat family has been around for a very long time. But we we just have to work around that now. And it's not easy. I understand that. I admit that. For you guys to scratch your head and really think, okay, I've got nearly 90 years of service from my end, yes, plus the 30 years, plus the 30 years, add another 30 years to me, ding, 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 obviously. So there's two 30s, add another 30 makes me, but that's actually a lot longer because it's 100 years every time, not just purely 30 years of service. It's more than that. And with that being said, where a lot of people are saying, where is your lady hat? I said, you just have to wait and see. Be patient, because the 360 years of service will come by so quickly. But at the moment, we're dealing with a 90-year of service protection because we need to say, look, if I really, really narrow it down, the dates are accurate, the time is accurate, but all the Thomas franchise that's online right now on YouTube, uh-uh. Why? Because it's spread out timeline. It's from 1845 all the way to the future. So work it out. It's 1845 when it started, and it's right into the future. It's been a century since my ancestor worked on the railway that I was born. So I was born on the 10th of October 1983 when my ancestor worked on the railway in October the 10th of 1883. So that's a little bit of a clue to a little guide up. But that is true because there's always this in-betweener that does the in-betweens. But I'm not the in-between. I'm now becoming the next grandfather of the Hat family. But that's not the case here. It's the timeline has been slowed down. and I'm a little bit late on schedule. Now, a lot of you might think, holy mac, yeah, holy smokes, whatever comes out of your mouth normally. And that's it, it's a fact. It's the truth. It will be years of service by the time my granddaughter's in place. So if you want to save my ancestors' legacy and 90 years of his service, please help me out. Thank you very much.